Did you know that during World War II, the Allies used a dead body to fool the German High Command and change the course of the war? This isn't a movie plot, it's a real story, one of the most ingenious and unbelievable deception operations ever executed. A story where a single dead man, an unknown drifter, became the silent hero who helped reshape Europe's destiny. It all began in 1943. The war had reached a critical stage. The Allies had defeated the Axis forces in North Africa, and the next logical step was to invade southern Europe. But there was a problem. Everyone knew that the most obvious entry point was the island of Sicily. It was the natural gateway to Italy, and therefore the exact place the German leadership expected the next attack. The Allies needed a trick, something that would divert the enemy's attention, something so convincing that the Axis would move its defenses far away from the real target. That's when two British intelligence officers, Ewan Montague and Charles Cholmondeley, came up with an idea so outrageous that it sounded impossible even in the world of espionage. Deceive the Axis with a corpse, not a double, not an actor, not a spy, a real dead body. Their plan was simple on paper, but dangerously ambitious in practice. Let the enemy discover the body of a supposed British officer carrying fake documents about the Allies' secret invasion plans. The project received a strange, almost darkly humorous name: Operation Mincemeat. The goal was to make the German High Command believe that the Allies were planning to invade Greece and Sardinia instead of Sicily. To pull that off, everything had to look authentic. Every detail, every mark, every pocket item. The first challenge was finding the right body. After weeks of quiet searching, they found one, a man named Glyndwr Michael, a homeless drifter who had died in London after accidentally ingesting rat poison. His body was handed over to British intelligence, and from that moment on, he ceased to exist as Glyndwr Michael. He became Major William Martin of the Royal Navy. The team then built him an entire life from scratch. They dressed him in uniform, created identification papers, tucked photographs of a fictional fiancée named Pam into his wallet, along with love letters, receipts, theater tickets, even a bill from a dry cleaner. Every tiny detail was crafted to perfection. The spies knew that credibility doesn't come from grand gestures, but from the smallest, most ordinary things. If someone examined that body, they would find traces of a real person, someone who laughed, loved, and lived. The final touch was the briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. Inside were classified letters between high-ranking Allied officers. The papers described upcoming attacks on Greece and Sardinia and treated Sicily as a secondary concern. It was the perfect psychological trap. If the enemy found those documents, they would be certain they'd uncovered something vital. On April 30th, 1943, a British submarine surfaced off the southern coast of Spain. In the darkness of night, sailors carried the carefully preserved body, kept on ice for weeks, and released it into the sea. The currents would take it toward the coast near the city of Huelva. Why Huelva? Because Spain, though officially neutral, had members within its government and military who quietly supported the Axis powers. The British knew that any mysterious discovery in that region would inevitably make its way into German hands. And that's exactly what happened. The next morning, a local fisherman spotted the body floating in the water. The Spanish authorities recovered it and soon discovered the briefcase with its top-secret contents. The information traveled quickly through diplomatic channels, reaching Axis intelligence. Everything was working exactly as planned. Meanwhile, in London, the British intelligence service played its role perfectly. They sent urgent messages demanding the return of the body and the briefcase, pretending to panic, expressing deep concern, all part of the performance. The more desperate they appeared, the more believable the deception became. The Axis intelligence service made copies of the documents and sent them straight to Berlin. The dictator himself read them and was completely convinced. He ordered reinforcements to be sent to Greece and Sardinia, pulling elite divisions, tanks, and artillery away from Sicily, the real target. When the Allies landed on the island on July 9, 1943, the plan worked brilliantly. Resistance was lighter than expected, and the German response came too late. The deception had been total. Even after reports contradicted the information, the Axis leadership still believed the main invasion would come through Greece. Because of this single act of trickery, thousands of lives were saved. The Allies captured Sicily, advanced into Italy, and opened a new front that would help bring the war in Europe to an end. All thanks to a corpse and the imagination of a few clever minds. Years later, when the truth was revealed, people could hardly believe it. How could such a bizarre plan have worked? But the documents and testimonies left no doubt. Operation Mincemeat was real, and its success had changed the strategic map of the war. Even today, the false Major William Martin rests in a quiet cemetery in Huelva, Spain. His tombstone still bears the name of his invented identity, with a later inscription that finally acknowledges who he truly was. Glinder Michael, the man who never knew that in death, he would alter the course of history. Think about that for a moment. A forgotten man who died alone became a crucial instrument in one of the greatest deception operations ever conceived. His body was used as a weapon, but his story transcended the war. And while movies and books have tried to capture this operation, none have fully conveyed how improbable it really was. In a world torn apart by bombs and armies, victory in Sicily began with a simple idea, a carefully crafted lie. A story that reminds us that sometimes the greatest weapon isn't force but imagination. If this story amazed you as much as it still amazes historians, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we uncover the most incredible true stories that sound like fiction, but shaped the real world. Leave a comment below. Had you heard about this operation before? Or would you like to hear more hidden stories from World War II intelligence? Because in war, as in life, appearances deceive. Sometimes the most unlikely plan can change everything.